Going live. You are live, according to Facebook, or not Facebook. Been on Facebook too much today, sorry. According to the YouTube thing here. So it says I'm here. Greetings from Portugal. We got an Xavier in here, awesome. Spain, more Portugal. Republic of Maryland, all right. UK, and welcome all who are here. Woohoo! And it's actually refreshing the page properly. Let me see. Does this work properly? Hey, look, that even works. So why did this not sign in? Oh, verify it's you. I better verify it's me. This is important. I realized my laptop wasn't booted up, which is the reason it wasn't. It's like, oh, let me go turn this on. Why isn't it on? Smashing the space bar. Then I'm like, oh, I gotta hit the power button. Whoops. Okay, cool. And then fun stuff. All right, there we go. Now everything's on. Now I'm logged in. Cayman Islands, Netherlands, all kinds of cool places. So we will start with hot sauce, but all right. We'll start with hot sauce. We'll start with turning down Tom's phone. There we go. Just turn that on to mute so it doesn't annoy me, or distract me, I should say. It's not going to annoy me. It may annoy you, but it definitely will distract me. But hot sauce. I am too full to eat anymore because this just was such a good combination of a little bit of barbecue sauce on tater tots. And yes, sometimes I'm a child and I just like tater tots with garlic habanero. This is from Melinda's Garlic Habanero, and I bought a bunch of it on clearance. And this on tater tots with a little bit of barbecue sauce was wonderful, but now I'm so full that I can't eat anymore, and I don't feel like putting anything else out. So that was that. Fun stuff, though. Detroit suburbs. Ooh, local people. Tater tots are great. I don't care. I'm in my 40s, and I still love tater tots. Man, I have simple tastes. Tater tots with a little garlic and some garlic habanero along with some pepper with barbecue sauce is just really good. So one of the things I'll talk about is, one, before I jump into the break fix versus contract managed services and some other business talk, let me pull up, because someone's probably going to ask about it, and I'll at least mention, and I tweeted this out the other day, is we're back on site doing stuff here in Detroit. So that's actually been kind of interesting, but it also kind of led me to the discussion and thinking about, everything's going on. And for whatever reason, this photo just looked way cooler in black and white. This is the photo that's on there. This is the part where we're happy that we got the call prior to the ceiling being in so we can go out and bid this job. So we went out there and bid this, and I didn't do any video while I was out there. I may do some follow-up talking about it because, there's our tools of choice for doing these bids, which is a wheel and a tape measure. It's really not a wheel, tape measure, some photos, and a schematic, because they have a schematic of where they, or a diagram, or whatever, a layout of how they want everything laid out. So some blueprints that we expand out to be big enough to make our notes on, and that's it. Then we do the bid. So this is one of them I may do a follow-up on as far as like a video, because at least I went on site, I walked it, and I'll kind of walk through our thought process and what we're looking for. And a lot of it has to do with, where's it at? Stuff like this. We make sure that we have pull strings available to us, and these are those factors where I say I give a per drop price, and someone says you can lose your butt on that, and I'm like, yeah, you could if you don't look. And what I mean by that is when you start coming up with per drop pricing, that per drop pricing is going to vary if you have to wall fish it versus did they put a conduit in with a pull string in each one. So there's a lot of factors that go into it. The other thing I think I took a picture of, where's it at? Let me find it real quick. But it was some of the rigging in the ceiling of what we have to attach to. So when you look at the cable poles, how they're going to go. One, there's no ceiling tiles in the way. We're going to be in before the ceiling tiles. Oh, that's going to reduce my charge per run, what we bid this job at. Also, how are we going to affix to it? This may change it a little bit. So you look at the way the trusses go across, and when we're talking about the trusses going across, you got to figure, all right, we're going to put in the proper J-hooks and the mounting equipment that go on those different trusses. So when the wires run, they run properly. So all stuff to think about when you're doing that. So it's more than, before you come up with the cost per run, you have to take into account all those other factors, whether or not there'll be any drilling and all that fun stuff. So hopefully that makes a little bit more sense. Let's see. Catch up all the messages here. Having a good week. Tots and cheese. Tots and cheese are good too. I'm more of a just tots and hot sauce, but yeah. Yeah, me and Xavier should be able to do how they get hacked. We'll figure out the time. I got to look because I have a few bookings tomorrow, so I have to get my schedule sorted out. My goal, and hopefully Xavier can work with me on this, is to do it earlier like we did last time as opposed to later. So that's a little bit more helpful to me. And so do it on Friday, but do it earlier on Friday instead of later. But we'll play that by ear right now and kind of figure that out. So, perfect. Xavier can do early, so I'll get my calendar and share it with you, Xavier, and we'll make sure that we'll pick a time. I'll message you later on tonight. I'll hit you up. We'll make this work. Yeah, Xavier's like me. He's has his own business. It's just a matter of scheduling when the clients have that allows us some flexibility of what time we do things. And if you need any cybersecurity stuff, check out Xavier. He does all kinds of fun stuff. Also, take the time to subscribe to Xavier's YouTube channel. He's producing some more content around cybersecurity and tools that he uses, and it's a lot of learning, so definitely a fun time. There's also some other local stuff, and he's always talking about it, MISEC and things going on, so shout out to all of that we got going on as well. So definitely some fun stuff. So, back to the topic, because I'm too full to eat any hot sauce, but I'm just going to tell you that this is good stuff. Break fix versus contract managed services work and business talk. So this is a topic, I started to do a video on this and didn't finish it. And well, I had a take, and this is what happened during the take. Literally, this was right here, and it bothered me because I didn't have anything else on the table. It was supposed to be just me, and I accidentally, not thinking, set my cup a little bit closer to the edge. So I don't like that video, so I figured, hey, I'll do it in a vlog here, get some feedback, and then come back around and maybe do a specific focus video on this, because we just landed another deal because we're willing to do and because we're flexible about how we do things with clients. And I've seen a lot of people in this debate rages on a little bit where they want to argue for you have to be where only you will do people who are only on managed contracts, et cetera, et cetera. And I'm not saying that you can't, and I'm not saying it's a business model that will fail. I'm saying it's not what works for us. And I like to preface it with that. That's how I want to do the other video, is set the stage, as they say. I want you to know from the perspective that I come from and why we do things the way we do. Matter of fact, the potential client that I know that one of my team is on the phone with, they're moving away from someone who they just don't get along with. They're really unhappy with the service, and this particular person offers entire fully break fix, fully managed services. And where is this? Trying to figure out why someone has me in for an appointment that I don't have. So, all right, good. It's not me. It's in my calendar, not me. Sorry, that was my distraction. I made sure I didn't schedule something to be right now. Someone else did. That's fine. It's not me. All right, sorry. Sorry for the distraction right there. It's just assigned to the wrong calendar. Sorry. Anyways, so back to the point here. By doing both, offering both options, and by not offering the all-in. So like I said, I believe so many people can make a lot of money doing it all in. I think they can do well having single stack, cookie cutter, every client the same. There's a lot to be said for that because, well, you can put everything exactly in one dashboard with your exact same non-diverse stack, so it makes it so your staff only needs to know one type of thing. There's a lot to be said for that you can provide very good service around that. We're a little bit different. We do a diverse amount of things. We love the project work. We kind of like the challenges of it. And so that's where we're at right now. You could hear me singing the praises of something else sometime in the future, but I'm saying where we're at right now. I also am not going to tear down people who seem to be happy and have happy clients doing that. Where there is problems is particularly with this client that called us, which is also why they called us. They have a full support contract and they weren't getting service. They had a problem. They weren't getting through, and I don't know why. I'm not here to judge the other IT company, but the reason that client is calling us is because they're unhappy with this other IT company that has them on a fully managed, fully inclusive, will do everything for you type of support package. That's what their contract says, but that's not what they're delivering. That's where you get a customer that's upset. And that's where we come in, and they're not ready to sign some managed service contract right away. Why? Because they're mad at the last people who had a great salesperson and a cool website and said they did all these magical things that they just didn't deliver on. And that's where some of the disconnect is. So for us, taking on clients on this one-off basic, hey, can you fix these minor problems, which actually were relatively minor. We fixed them in under 30 minutes. So to go from a client you have no knowledge of and in under 30 minutes have their mail server running pretty fast. They had no problem agreeing to our rates. They, getting them signed up. And after we fixed it, now they're back at it going, we think we might want to switch because we're so unhappy with the other people. And this is not the first time this has happened. But one of the things that I've run into is when these clients call us is they go, I called everywhere. No one wants to do anything unless I sign an agreement, prepay, sign a contract, sign 7 pages, initial 3 more pages. Like they make the whole process convoluted and complicated. And I don't... I took a little risk. I didn't pre-bill the client. Worst case out, I'm out. I quoted him what our hourly was. I said I could fix this probably within an hour, but I'm going to need some information. He was able to get me that information relatively quickly. We got it done within about half an hour. So I'm still not paid yet, but I'm not overly worried that, a 1-hour bill is going to go unpaid. I'm looking at the long term, and now that things are working, the clients already contact us again and do stuff. But by being someone who's being flexible, working on that one-off basis, it's kind of like a right away that they've got a better engagement with us, and they're on day 2 calling us, and that gives another 24 hours to their previous IT company. That's a managed service provider still not helping them. So it's been kind of interesting coming at it from that perspective. Let's see, follow up a little messages here. Do you offer net terms with customers, just customers or new customers as well? Generally speaking, because we have online payments and everything else, all right. So sorry about that. Someone came in. But generally speaking, we'll do the net terms, but the net terms are going to be dependent on the client. Like if they're a far away, out-of-state client, no, we're not going to do net terms at all. Local client, we literally, I was on the phone solving something because we just bid 3 different buildings for a client, but they're all a bunch of small jobs for buildings. But we know they're going to lead to some bigger stuff. We actually let them do net 30, and normally we require a deposit, but each of these are relatively small. The trustworthiness of the client and the nature of what they do, I don't think they're going to try to, each office only needs like 2 or 3 drops in it. I don't think they're going to try to really stick us on that. They just have a slower, more convoluted process being a government entity of instantly getting us a deposit. So yeah, so it's kind of a mix on that. The smaller staff in focusing on some of the smaller clients. So there is some people that say it's not worth taking clients, or the clients that have less than 20 workstations are going to be more difficult to deal with. I don't really find that to be the case. The level of difficulty you have with a client is varied much more based on that particular client. So we have clients with large numbers of people that are very easygoing, not needy, works well. We have clients that have like a smaller, it just varies. We have small staff that has our pain in the butt. We have some small staff that you can almost forget they exist because they just don't need anything because they're tech savvy. Most of the client engagement comes from how tech savvy are they, nature of their business. If they're hiring people who are more in the professional services that are with a younger, that skews a little bit younger, I'm not poking at them for their age, but generally speaking, the younger crowd has more tech savviness. But don't worry, I've seen plenty of older people that do, especially designers. If they've worked on computers a lot, they just seem to need you less. So it's not like I can draw some exact parallel or generalize easily. It's kind of on a client-by-client basis. Also, the cadence and how things are set up and the maturity level of a business depends a lot on the owner. Some owners, and it's a systemic problem. Before one of our clients, thankfully, the owner stepped away and sold the business to someone else, and we kept them as an IT client. We didn't love them that much as an IT client before because the owner was just persistently cheap on everything. So the owner set the precedence that everything had to be done that way. And by the way, that didn't just mean technology. That pretty much meant everything they did was done as cheap as possible throughout the business, which was drama around their computers was one facet. There's drama around pretty much everything they do all the time. So let's see. So you are part of an MSP group on Facebook. A topic coding came up. It was a way. It would be way out of my business model not to quote and get random jobs. Seems like they only want recurring, nothing else. Yeah, I get some of them. That's all they want is recurring on there. And if you're trying to sell it on a profitability standpoint or predictable business model, it's better. Think about it from any perspective. I mean, isn't it better to have a consistent revenue stream coming in because you have a consistent revenue stream going out? The lights stay on, bills have to be paid, the insurance has to be paid, everything else. So you have an absolute consistency all the time that you need to achieve. So consistent revenue makes sense to me that you need that going as well. I think the random jobs are the interesting ones frequently too. I honestly, don't get me wrong, I like the MSP business, but a lot of it, when you've got everything set up and the clients worked with you to build in new systems, everything's as it's recommended, it actually becomes a very quiet relationship. You're just going through and patching things are just working, they have nice new fast equipment. You still engage and talk to the client once in a while, but you find it a lot less. And it's not bad. It's not a bad thing at all. I'm not complaining about it. You usually hope when they go into an expansion, that's when there's going to be something a little bit more interesting going on there. Let's see. We have so far made it. I'm just laughing because we're 17 minutes in and we haven't broke out talking about Tom, why didn't you review my favorite firewall? I think it's because the way I titled it, Break, Fix versus Contract Manage, Work for Business. So anyways, back to the topic. So the other side of the business that we do when it comes to MSP is we're not doing the all-in, all-you-can-eat managed service agreements. And some people argue that's a better way to do it. Here's the thing. It's not saying you can't sell it. It just doesn't seem to be as much of a fit for us. What we're doing is we offer managed services, but we offer managed services without adding in, so everything's inclusive is the best way to describe it. I know that's a popular way to do it. We're saying you have so many minutes of free time. After that, it's billable. Also, things like, for example, we had a managed service client. They decided to add these signs onto their building. By adding their signs onto the building, that turned into quite a bit of networking project because the other company that's adding the signs has some confusing ways they implemented the network and required a lot more goofing around than it should have, and they didn't have their equipment configured properly. Good news is they were using UniFi site to site, something we're very familiar with, so we did the time tuning it. This is all out of scope. It could have been one of those things if we were all in, would have been one of those, well, you guys are all in. We're like, nope, this is out of scope. So we try to make sure those things are well defined. That way when there's a bunch of problems or when companies do things that are just way outside of it, need help with stuff, you can create that dividing line of when it's billable and when it's not. We spent some time helping someone solve some goofy problems with Excel. That's way out of scope. We're not an Excel support desk. We understood what they were trying to do, and they were trying to manipulate a bunch of data dumped out of their system. So we took the time to help them, but we let them know this is a billable action by doing it, and away we go. So, yeah, review Zone Alarm. Zone Alarm, that is great. So with the gold rush, crowded business model of MSP, people cutting each other's race to the bottom, do you even see this model in 3 years? Absolutely. This model's been around for a lot longer. It's the gold rush, if you want to call it that, is because large companies, and we'll call out like, Thomas Bravo, is investing in these other tooling companies like SolarWinds and ConnectWise and all the related companies. So there's a big push to marketing. Now, it's not bad necessarily because there's more demand than there ever was. Computers have become dramatically more complex. The systems we run have become so integrated into business that a down computer, even for something as, a bakery, a transportation company, you can't really find too many facets of business that aren't highly driven by technology in many ways. So the tools have to get more advanced. So it's not as much that there's a race to the bottom. It's just race to awareness that you need these services, that you need a more comprehensive protection plan. You just didn't need this as much back with Windows 95. There was less issues overall back in the market, and there was less attacks going on and less vectors for attack. With the increasing complexity, you have the same level of threats increase like at the same rate. Thank you, William Daughtery, for the donation at $24.99. It is greatly appreciated. So with these combinations of threats coming in, with the complexities of systems and people finding more and more holes to poke, it's more complicated than ever securing these networks, especially when a lot of people are using hybrid. They're using some on-prem stuff. They're using a whole lot of cloud stuff. They have a lot of passwords to manage. There's a lot of systems that got to be patched and update. So it's just like one thing after another. It's a big mess. That's the best way to describe all that. So it is it's a lot to do. Why do I have a meeting for that? Someone threw a no title meeting. I have no idea who did that. Oh, that's not mine either. Okay. Someone's throwing meetings in my calendar. It's my staff. No big deal. I see what they're doing. All right. Back to the topic again. Sorry, I got a little distraction today. I have to close my calendars. There's nothing in there and trying to figure out why things are showing up. Speaking MSP today is scheduled maintenance for one contract. Time for me to disappear. Yeah, that's a whole other thing. Billable action, all the things. We'll go with that too. Active Directory or some LDAP. Yeah, and look at Active Directory. I mean, you look at the early days. I started at an NT4 doing this. The level of complexity was so much less back then. You look at how much more integration we have with all the devices and everything with Active Directory. Everything is like one more component on there. And on top of that, if you didn't see, and I can't remember if I tweeted this out, but I know I had posted it, but ConnectWise Automate, they had Wise, there we go. I'll pull it up from here. So if you didn't see this, this is the other side that you have to deal with as an MSP. This is the ConnectWise Automate, and there's basically like a 0 day in the ConnectWise Automate system. So now, as an MSP, this is something you're fighting against, and we are as well, because we use some of the ConnectWise tools. We don't use Automate specifically, but so you're constantly looking at all these other sides of it. So this is one of the reasons that I've told people you have to charge as much as you do. And people say, well, some of the MSP stuff seems expensive, or the clients do. I'm like, we have to spend time protecting our tools. We have to spend time updating. We have to spend time researching. We have to spend time learning them. Then we have to spend time applying all those tools and wrestling with the Windows updates and making sure all the client systems are patched as well as our system. So a lot of that money, it's kind of funny when you break it down, so much of it is spent in time trying to keep the whole ecosystem on both sides, your side and the client side, up to date. So I'm still for doing these one-off projects with hopefully leading them into and bringing them around to the MSP side of things, but there's so much to it, and that's one of the reasons that the fees sometimes seem a little high. As that's one of the things that people don't understand, and I've reminded people of this many times. I hate my job is not a business plan. And I see that because someone reached out to me today. They said they're a fan of the channel. And they said, hey, I'm thinking about starting a business. And I'm like, in this climate, I don't know, may or may not be a great idea. Second, marketing, sales, and marketing, focus on that. You may have the technical chops, but it's one of those things that getting all the clients and building a business model around it is a lot of work. It's a different skill set than just the tech skills. I'm not discouraging anyone from starting a business. I'm just saying be prepared for everything that it takes. And second, don't go bottom of the barrel, bottom of the margin doing it, because when you do that, you'll never expand. You'll never have money for employees. You'll never have that ability to, add more staff on, because I've consulted with people before that have had that problem. They start telling me their prices, and I'm like, yeah, you can't add staff at that price. You can make some money yourself, but by the time you look at what the tooling costs are, you're like, oh, they're not that much. Why is this company charging X when the difference between X and what the tool cost is substantial? That's all that payroll that you're missing right now that you're hoping to get later. So you have to kind of make sure you have margin in there for it. So that's kind of my rant on that entire topic. So hopefully that makes a lot of sense. Yeah, educating the end user is another piece of it. So SolarWinds RMM restricted to static IP with two-factor. That's solid. That's a good way to do it. Yeah, if you're starting a business, figure out what you're worth and quadruple it. Yeah, setting the pricing can be kind of hard. And it's also market dependent, who you're going after. If you're going after healthcare, what other services you're providing. Because if you say you're charging $200, $300 a seat, that sounds expensive, or is it? And it really just depends on what you're offering for them. If you take an employee, and this is one of the things you have to think about. Let's say we're doing it on a per employee basis for pricing. If you have an employee making $100,000 a year, adding another $100, $150, or $200 more per month per employee isn't much compared to their pay. But swing that the other way. They have a bunch of staff that's only making $30K a year. Now a big expense is that. So there's that ratio. You have to think about it. So, and that's really going to be driven by what industry you're targeting, whether or not that's a lot. Overall, companies that employ a lot of staff that pay better than six figures for their staff are probably doing some type of service work that also entitles them a lot of money. Therefore, it's not as much of their budget. But a small business, yeah, if you start telling them, here's your $10,000 a month in IT, they go, that's a lot more than we bring in. Like, our margins aren't that good on a small business. So you have to have different, more diverse plans where you don't go all in. You're not paying for their computers. Maybe they're just buying more basic workstations. Maybe they just have to do some basic point of sale entry. So it's a simpler system, and you can offer something that fits there. But it depends what you're targeting and what you're doing with your MSP stack. Yeah, business speak and understanding, and make sure you can talk. Now, this is good, even if you're not a business owner. One of the things that helps you be more successful as an IT, in an IT career specifically, is being able to have, as they say, 1 foot in the back room, 1 foot in the boardroom. Me and one of my friends had a great conversation of like how he became so successful in his IT career that turned into more of a business management career and a lot of really cool entrepreneurial things. And it's because of his communication skills. Being able to communicate, articulate, and have people understand your problems is invaluable to the advancement you're going to get inside the IT space. There's just no other way around it. If you want to be able to convey that you need a larger budget to solve a problem or bring the business forward, you have to do that and solve it and come at it from a business side, not, hey, I need this expensive tool because it's awesome, and dive into technical details, because that's just not going to really sell it as well to the managements of the world. That's one of those challenges you're going to have when you're doing that. So a lot of the things I do, you can essentially apply. And I've heard the word used that I kind of like is called intrapreneur. And it's essentially, once you can work at a large company, if you manage a section or a division of a company, even if that division is IT, you kind of in some ways do run a business within a business. And like I said, intrapreneur kind of makes sense because you're also trying to pivot yourself to say, okay, what are the innovative things that my department can do that's going to make the business more efficient, that's going to make the business more profitable? And when you come at it from that standpoint, you stop looking like just some expense to the company. You look like someone who can, hey, if we bring in this technology, our staff will be this much more efficient, and therefore the company becomes more profitable. And that was always, when I worked in corporate, the perspectives I came from. Matter of fact, we specifically use technology. One of the goals with technology is how do we leverage technology to grow the company without hiring more people? That was like the challenge that got thrown out there as we were growing the company in the transportation sector when I worked in that was, all right, what can we automate? What levels of automation so we can keep the staff we have, but expand the company and automate things for more accuracy, automate them so we don't have to, hire another person in accounting or another person in dispatch, etc. So being able to go back and forth on that's pretty important. Is it the, let's see, did I get a ConnectWise response about Screen Connect? No. I have not gotten a response directly from them. I have not gotten a response in person when I talked to them in Florida earlier this year or late last year. And their tech support gives you a canned answer. And I think Sam's seen this on my Twitter, and I tweeted this out. So I'll pull it up real quick so everyone's on the same page here. So ConnectWise Control released the new version of Screen Connect. So cool, except Screen Connect stable release 20.05. But if we look at the downloads here, the last version of Linux is still 19.6. And no date yet, no time yet when it's going to be up to date. And this has been an aggravation that I don't know if they've actually abandoned it. They won't answer that question. So I'm trying to figure out ways, do I make a video and call them out? I just want a response. I just want some type of yes or no answer. So I don't want to call people out on Twitter. I just want an answer. I'm a paying customer who has a license for the product. I'm not just some schmo asking a question or a pre-sales question. I'm a paying customer who has a license that you buy ahead of time for a period of time that you pay money for to get updates. And technically I'm not getting those updates because I'm running it on the Linux platform. So I've had great time talking to their support. I've had questions with them. They've been very helpful. The only question they're not helpful with is whether or not they're going to support Linux. They're like, we're working on it. And I'm like, well, I've read through the errata and I see there's all kinds of problems with the mono because you're switching to the new version. I get it. But when? Yeah, so they sold you an abandoned product, Sam. I kind of feel the same way. I don't know what GoToAssist is. Here's the thing. I just want a decision made whether or not I'm switching away from ConnectWise, because I want to know before the renewal comes up. So do they tell you what it costs? Pricing, there we go. Let's get a price on this. So I'm going to say here, so I'm looking at the same thing. Call sales. Agents. So how many unattended agents can you keep? So does someone know? They clearly don't say. We have, just in our Screen Connect, I think there's 600 or 700. It won't let me put that big a number in here. There's 600 or 700 in our Screen Connect. So how do you, and that's just Screen Connect. We have our other tools like the MSP Anywhere too. But anyways, that many. So what is their pricing like for the agent list? I guess if anyone knows. Yeah. AnyDesk. Here's the thing. I like Screen Connect because it has a Linux client. If none of the other ones have a Linux client, then we just go back to using the other one. So what's the pricing on AnyDesk? I mean, this would definitely... Unlimited concurrent connections. And here's the thing, does AnyDesk work as well? I don't know. This becomes a rabbit hole of trying to figure out which one's good at all. So, and the other option is Screen Connect has a hosted version, so we could take all of our 700 clients and move them over to the hosted version as well for Screen Connect. So, and just pay a monthly fee to them. The other option is moving it to a Windows server. I don't like the idea, but it is obviously something we could do. So. So they do have a Linux client for TeamViewer Unlimited. Okay. Chrome Remote Desktop is not going to work for us. We need something more professional than that. AnyDesk has Linux. Okay. Yeah, the security matters a whole lot to us. So, is for all the faults of the ConnectWise people, they have Bishop Fox called them out, but they're big, and I get that people are poking at them. So far, I'm going to say Screen Connect, knock on wood, has been pretty good about it. They did address the Bishop Fox security vulnerabilities. They were bad, but not end of the world bad. So they seem to be pretty proactive on a lot of security stuff. But that's also what makes me worried, especially switching to a small vendor. Have they gone through code auditing? Have they gone through security auditing at all? ConnectWise, I've talked to people there. They have gone through a lot of it. And by the way, I know some of these large companies have been poking away at it. So that gives me the confidence. Matter of fact, because of their poking away and finding the vulnerabilities, awesome. Are they taking the time to poke at the small ones? No. But will someone else? Yeah. And if someone finds a flaw, is it someone who's a white hat or black hat? That's really what happens there. So, yeah, it's going to be an issue. So it's something I'll have to kick the can down the road and figure out. Hopefully, I don't like calling people out on Twitter. I'm not like just trying to put someone on blast and get some attention. I'm actually hoping to get real engagement and real answers, because you can't get it from calling them. They just won't answer that question. So, yeah, Screen Connect's just been amazing. Overall, of the ones we've tried, especially when we tried some of the other ones, Screen Connect has always been super great. I remember Bomgar, but Bomgar's, I remember being really pricey. But if it works, if it works, great. So, it's been a long time since I looked at that one. What else did I want to talk about? Those are really the topics I had for today, were those things. I actually didn't have a whole lot. So, Real VNC. Here's the challenge with things like Real VNC and some of those other ones. They're kind of neat. They've been around for a little while, but the challenge with those is they don't work as well over lower bandwidth. And Screen Connect has been amazing. One of the things Screen Connect is, it's almost an RMM in itself. And if you look at my reviews of Screen Connect, you'll see what I'm talking about. They've got complete service level access, scripts. We can run PowerShell scripts without connecting to the client directly. We can just execute and organize things. Those are pretty powerful tools that work really well to allow us to fix problems without ever really connecting to the client. That's one of the reasons we've liked and used Screen Connect for so long. But at some point, if they're not going to support a Linux version, and if I don't feel like moving to a Windows server, and how is that license going to work? It's going to be interesting. Oh, Linus is doing UniFi Protect. Yeah. Yeah, Xavier Johnson, like he says, how to hack an MSP. That's the thing. You have to really keep everything super tight and locked down. Matter of fact, Xavier, I'll send you a message, Xavier. That latest ConnectWise one. Go through. If you go to Reddit/rMSP, it's the top post in there, and they have some how to check those. How to check who's patched and who's not, and of course, it's stuff you can find pretty easy with Shodan. This is more about showing how many of them are out there. I didn't really dig into just how many public-facing ConnectWise ports are open on Shodan, but I bet that number is really big. So this being a very high level of privilege is interesting. Also, by the way, ConnectWise doesn't issue CVEs for any of this, which makes it that much harder. You have to rely on notices from ConnectWise. This is what their Automate product. Not talking about Screen Connect. This is specifically talking about that Automate. I'll pull it back up so we're all on the same page here. This one right here. So it looks like it's pretty solid. It's essentially full access to the database, according to people in here, with the potential to run commands on endpoint at will, and creating super admin users. So, wow. Nope, and someone claims right here it is being exploited in the wild. So, wow. That's crazy. I mean, they sent out, and here's the problem, they sent out an email about this, but not everybody, gets it right away, not everybody patches right away, so obviously this is going to be kind of messy. They don't describe it, but of course, once it's out there and people look at what the downloads are, any threat actors are going to reverse engineer this and figure out ways that they're going to be able to exploit it, so it's definitely going to be, a mess. How's that? Oh, I remember VNC back in the day was amazing. Corey Thompson said he used to use it back on the 640-480. I mean, it was my go-to tool back when I worked in corporate in 1999. It was great. A PC Anywhere. I don't know if PC Anywhere is still around, but I remember having VNC and a cool dashboard that I remember, because this is long before GitHub, but it was essentially open source, but it was stuff that was crowdsourced really at the time and posted in a forum. It was a VNC dashboard, and the VNC dashboard would grab all the feeds from all the office computers and group them into dashboards, so you could just click on the dashboard and pull up whichever computer without having to type in or hit a pull down, and it would grab the last screenshot of any of those computers. It was actually really slick. So VNC was a cool option back then. So yeah, remote access solutions, they're out there, which makes it even, everyone's clamoring to write one. I care a lot about security, so I'm not exactly willing to jump out there. Second, when you want to move 700 workstations, I know we have automation tools, but it's still moving 700 workstations. Second is a lot of our Screen Connect usage is for one-off use. And that one-off use becomes challenging as well, because we want to make sure something's easy for people to just get connected so we can remotely connect to them. I have to play with each one of those and figure out easy ways to do connections. So that's kind of a big factor on there. Yeah, if you look for, there's all kinds of real VNC and a bunch of VNC derivatives. Years ago, I used to have to run one, a self-hosted VNC server. The backend was based on VNC, and they built a really clever installer system. I used it years ago. I'm talking 2005 or 6, and someone had built a really slick system for it. But at some point, I was like, it just wasn't a clean solution. And no way, I thought, especially even then, I was always a little bit security conscious. And I'm like, I just don't know that I trust the way this works well enough. And this is before most things were encrypted. So I'm like, I just don't trust putting this on and leaving remote access on there. So smash the like button for sure. Yeah, TeamViewer is pretty popular. I don't know all the different pricing on TeamViewer, but I know it's pretty popular. The challenge sometimes with TeamViewer is so many other people use it that if you're using a different version than another support company who is using an older version, that seems to be a weird issue we've run into with it. So, at least that I've seen. That's one of the things we like is because we're using Screen Connect. Now, the interesting thing about Screen Connect is a lot of other IT companies use it and will take over someone. And if they have their Screen Connect installed, we can still install ours at the same time. One system can have multiple Screen Connect instances, even from different companies, and it works perfectly fine. They've kind of thought that part out, which I think is really cool. Yeah, I mean, the Google remote support, but it's just not scalable. We need a lot of unattended, so it's not really the ideal solution for us. All right, on to the next topic, which I don't know what the next topic is yet. So what should be the next topic be? What would you guys like me to talk about? I know there's a Dream Machine over here blinking because we plugged it back in. I know there's a UniFi update I need to do. It just came out, so I got to get that done. And I'm trying to think of what else. Webmail via G Suite or email client Linux. I use Webmail. I'm using G Suite. I don't see really the desire to be in any of the other ones. Like I don't like having an on-prem or mail server anymore. People seem to hassle me about that. I used to be a mail server admin. There's a reason we don't do it no more. It's just not very practical. It's kind of niche use case. I'm not saying there's no use case for it, but it's not one for my business I don't have. Second, having a client where I got to download email into, I loathe Outlook. I have forever. There's never been a time I've liked Outlook. I was a Thunderbird user for a while back in the day, but once Gmail came out and then G Suite, we moved my company to it, and it's been, smooth sailing. Back even earlier, I liked webmail clients because in my corporate days, back in 2001, I think I set up a Squirrel Mail server. Look that one up. And Squirrel Mail was pretty cool. Later, I moved over to Roundcube Webmail, which is pretty cool as well. If you haven't heard of Roundcube, it was a neat system as well. So, but I've always been kind of favored the web-based systems. They just work a lot better. What else was there? I do have a 3D printer. We did a video on it. I'm just not much of a user for it, so. Backblaze B2 versus Wasabi. So, I thought about trying to review them. I found it kind of difficult. I didn't like Wasabi. Their policies seem much more difficult to write. So when it comes to cloud storage, we really like Backblaze. They're pretty solid. They work well with a lot of different services. The B2 bucket style is well defined. It's easy to define security for each individual bucket, which, by the way, I highly recommend you set up individual buckets with individual API keys for each one of the clients you set up for security reasons. And overall, B2 makes it easy. Wasabi, I didn't play with it much myself. My staff did, and they just kept shaking their head and going, "This is just a lot more confusing, and we don't feel as though it's as secure unless we do a lot of these other steps. Like the security seemed complicated." And I said, "Well, they also have other fees. So they talk about not having egress fees, but there's still a bunch of transactional fees that didn't seem to make them, when we started uploading data to it, that much better from a cost standpoint than Backblaze." Second, and someone posted in my forums about this. I noticed I've have the same issue sometimes. I don't think they said it was pfSense. It's not. You have to refresh the page a lot and disable things like ad blockers to get their site to load. It's just weird. I don't know why it does that. I disable the ad blocker and the site loads better, but sometimes it just doesn't load some sections of the site. So I did play with it. I wasn't impressed by it. Can UniFi disable low data rates? I've never tried. You got yelled at for using Emacs instead of Vi. Look, man, it's all about Vi. Thank you for flying Vim. So, no, I don't see using a fleet of management for employee workstations for Linux. I just don't see it. I'm not saying it can't be done. It's just not likely. Matter of fact, especially with our clients, we pretty much just don't ever use Linux for our clients, for workstations. I can't think of any at the moment at all right now. At one time, I think there were people that did it, but it's just not as practical. As much as I would love it to be, it's not. And the reason why is the software applications they use to run their enterprise don't work on Linux, and I'm not going to try to do a bunch of workarounds with Wine or any other utilities that try to make their programs work. It's just not, unless they're like 100% web-based, and even then, we've got ones that use Chromebook for that. They just go, well, I'll just get a Chromebook, and I'm like, it's kind of a more practical situation. You tie it to your G Suite, you can log in, you tie your login to it with G Suite and the Chromebook, and you're done. That's it, finished. And so I don't really feel... and I'm not saying it can't be done with a bunch of managed scripting. It just doesn't feel, it feels overly complicated. Even Microsoft, with the way they're moving to Azure AD and the way the sign-ons work for that, seems like a decent solution for being able to do management through the elevated licenses through Office 365. And it's more practical, especially because back to the problem of they need to use Windows tools to run their business. UniFi Dream Machine. Company 25. So the challenge with the Dream Machine is always the same. Does it route? Yes. Does it do VPN? Bad. From a routing standpoint, awesome. I think they work perfectly fine as prescribed. If I just need to route internet traffic, they're great. If I need to add multiple WAN IP addresses, that literally is where they fall flat. That just stops, and I don't know why. That is something that has been requested for like years. They've come out with new products and all kinds of new things, and that just doesn't do. So I don't understand that part of it. So I don't know that it's Microsoft has figured out workstations better than most. They just were really, really good at using their powers to monopolize and stop anyone from having diversity in the markets. There's some that argue by Microsoft creating a consistent programming platform for people to write an application for, because if you would have had multiple operating systems and there was no cross-compatibility, it would have been pure chaos and no advancement of technology. But yet, Linux and POSIX style operating systems have managed to solve some of that. But it's a real philosophical argument overall, and Microsoft really did use a lot of pressure, and no one was really ever able to make a compatible piece of software or an operating system that would also run all your Windows applications without lawyers from Microsoft paying them a visit. So, am I switching to Untangle? Not likely. Untangle is just another option in the toolbox. If you need some of those features, and I'm working on it. It's just been finding the time to do it. I'm really trying to work on a new review of Untangle because our new version 15. I've been playing with it. I have it set up in our lab, and I like it. And it has a few features, but some people are really adamant they don't want to pay anything. I get it. And if you like some of the filtering and some of the ability to block websites and do everything at the firewall level, Untangle really has a complete system for that, but it's not free. So that's where it turns some people off. It does have an expense associated with having those features, but they're nice. And if you want a turnkey firewall that has a dashboard that you can just one-click filter a computer, Untangle's kind of where it's at for that. So that's one of those. That's one of those things that's where you use Untangle is for people who want that level of integration and ease of use. Which Netgate router is good for gigabit internet and OpenVPN? The SG3100 right here. This one will do gigabit, but I don't know how fast you want OpenVPN. They have all their speed listed out over on the Netgate website. Favorite managed switches? Probably the UniFi ones that you see behind me. UniFis are pretty awesome. They're probably the easiest ones to configure and set up for VLANs and things like that. Yes, if you're a reseller, you get NFR licenses, not for resale licenses for Untangle. So if you sign up to be an Untangle reseller, which is cheap, you can get an NFR license to play with. That's what I have. They'll give you demos and things like that too. They have programs for that. And if you're a home user, it's only $50 a year, which is pretty cheap. React OS, open source Windows XP. I've seen it. I've not actually tested it. Yeah, I don't know how long it is before they get a cease and desist from Microsoft either. That's a whole different thing. Best managed switcher is Cisco. Now, Cisco's going to have an amazing array of features. So not Meraki, but specifically the Cisco switches. And then if you go over to like something like Juniper and some of the other high-end companies, they make some really advanced products that are really good. There's a strong quality they have. The downside of specifically Cisco is their licensing schema is sometimes very expensive. So, yeah. If you like updating firmware, there's sometimes a lot to managing the Cisco ones. Oh, someone says React OS is sort of works with some stuff in Win2K era. I don't think Microsoft's worried about it. Yeah, I don't know that it's a. I don't know that it's a really Microsoft. It depends how big they get. So you got to think of it from this. Microsoft has to spend time spending money with lawyers, and of course think about the. What the perception of the market would see if they went and attacked some tiny little company. It's probably not worth their time. It's not worth spending money on. It's not worth the bad publicity you'd get. And it would actually backfire and bring more attention to React OS. So I don't think Microsoft sees them as any real threat to their business model at all. Farsight Technology says, whatever happened to Marvin? I don't know where he works now. I say hi to him. I see him randomly. Still Facebook friends with him. So I don't know where he works right now. But Marvin took another job. Any hope for replacement USG3? I'm not. I think they're going all in on these Dream Machine and Dream Machine Pro. That's what I think they're doing. I don't know because they don't seem to have a roadmap that is publicly displayed that tells you when products are going to be released. And I don't, and someone may find something in the, what do you call it? The beta store for UniFi. I don't talk about the beta store stuff. You agree when you go to the beta store, you're not supposed to talk about the beta store stuff on like YouTube, and I'm fine to comply with that. That's not that big of a deal to me. Anyone can sign up to be a beta tester. You just click agree, and you can then go to the beta store and see what things are coming out. It's not like a big secret. And go over on Reddit, and you can find all kinds of discussion on the topic. I just choose not to publicly talk about it, which is weird because so many people do it anyways, but I don't know. We choose not to do it. That's my thoughts on that. I think that's about it. I can't think of anything else. I'm let you guys know what I'm testing with and doing all that. I can't think of anything else right now because I do want to get to a few other things that I want to work on today, including loading. There's a computer over here, and I got to load Untangle on that because I want to take it home and actually run it for a while to build some stats and talk about it. Will I ever offer UniFi cameras to a client? Not anymore. Maybe. So the UniFi Protect system, we have a couple pizza places that use it. It works great for a small camera system. I think it's got a niche use case. Would I recommend it on a big project? Not at all. There's nothing about it that makes me think that it's going to be a product that's going to solve a large-scale problem. So I'm kind of on the fence on that. Am I using IPv6 anywhere? Nope, not at all. Smash the like button, all 266 of you. It'd be much appreciated if you did that. Bash the like button. There you go. SolarWinds, Bitdefender Sentinel-1. This, I almost feel like you're the same person who asked the same question last week and asked in the forums. Sentinel-1. Do you have video for any tips on a newbie based on pfSense? Here's the thing about the newly set up. You are the same person who keeps asking the same question last week and this week. I didn't change antiviruses from last week or from when I answered it in the forums. How's that? I'll let you know if I change. I'll update the forum post. Anyways, so video tips on brand new UniFi. I have all kinds of getting started with UniFi, or not UniFi, but pfSense. I'm sorry, got conflated there. The problem with pfSense, not problem with the defaults on pfSense. If there were better defaults, they would be the default. That's why, and someone asked me this the other day when I was helping them out with pfSense, I said, it's really simple. Don't open things up and you won't have a security issue. The more you open things up, the more problems you will potentially have. So if you have chosen not to open things up on pfSense and you follow the instructions that says, hey, change the admin password, the default options on pfSense are quite secure. After that, it starts coming down to what do you want to do with pfSense? Do you want to run PF Blocker? Cool, I got a video on that. And I even comment, make sure you find my latest video, make sure you follow the instructions. As someone who kept commenting, please help me, it's not working. Finally, they replied, it's like, I don't know, they're saying the menus were different and they were loading the wrong version. I'm very specific when I say, hey, load PF Blocker, the latest development version, etc. in this particular video. So follow the instructions and away you go. DNS follow-up. That's probably something worth talking about. I did a couple videos on it. If you're looking for the free service, hands down right now, I think in terms of free services, that DNS filter killed it. They did a great job. They seem to sinkhole the best compared to the other ones out there. They're great for a free service. Downsides, they are aggressively blocking things, so there could be some false positives in there. That's going to be the challenge, and you'll have to submit false positives to their site, and they'll review them, and they'll take them down. With a paid service, it's very different. One, they're much more diligent on making sure that they have high levels of accuracy. I do like the folks at DNS Filter. Had a great conversation with them. As I said in there, they wrote a blog post up. They seem, committed to community engagement. These are all things they like to hear. So I think they're a pretty good one that we may dig into at some later point in time looking at their service. I really liked it. Everything about them was kind of easy to deal with. Cisco, back when they were on OpenDNS, I think they were good. And when they became the Cisco umbrella, I don't know. I'm not a fan sometimes, and there's always the joke of innovation goes to die at Cisco because they just figure out how to monetize it without actually innovating on it. And honestly, even with the false positives being in there, DNS Filter scored really high, but Cisco scored a lot lower. And really basic, not really thorough testing, spot checking things off of alien vault feeds. I kept finding Cisco failing, but DNS Filter working. So, in Quad 9 too. So those two keep coming out ahead, but that's me testing like 5 domains. I've been plugging away when I see things come up on the threat feed. Hey, I wonder if this has been sinkholed or not, and grabbing the sinkhole and seeing if it's there or not in each one of those. So, did we talk about the new UniFi 4-day Protect server? No, not yet. Eventually, I think I might be getting one. UniFi mentioned they might send one to me. I said, awesome. When it gets here, I'll review it. It's not here, so I can't review it. It's a lot harder to track the web filtering that SolarWinds has versus DNS Filter. That's a really hard test to do. because they work differently. The web filtering is application running on local workstation, not just a DNS entry. So there's not some easy way to do a comparative test. So it's not as much a one-to-one test. We have found that I think the SolarWinds one seems to work quite well, but it's, like I said, it's not the same. Best solution to manage Wi-Fi and bandwidth? That's too broad of a question for me to answer. Do some traffic shaping on the Wi-Fi, only give so much per client. Does that answer your question? Or is that as vague as your question? Yes, you can be my student, Lester. Just watch all my videos. I just throw everything on here. Maybe that helps. I don't know how else to say it. Yeah, turn it off. That's okay. That's kind of a, yeah, turn it off and eliminate all the bandwidth. Sponsored by, why does that sound familiar? Paycor. What is Paycor? That's an HR program? I don't know. Anyways, what else do you want to ask me about before I wind things down? I'm not going 2 hours today, sorry. I'm sure there's some audio tools like that, Sam, but I've never used them. I'm pretty sure they exist. It's not something I've probably used, though. Oh, my cup says Paycor, doesn't it? That's where I've heard this from. So this company just mailed me this cup, and I liked it. I don't know why they sent it to me. I've never talked to them. I don't know what they do, but you're right. It does say Paycor on my cup. I honestly, so apparently I've been accidentally branding things and promoting them, and I don't at all know what they do. If they're the Paycor I just looked up, they're some type of HR payroll company. Oh wait, yeah, no one's asked me about MeekerTick and OpenSense yet. Oh, biking, yeah. So, yeah, B2 versus Wasabi. That's definitely thing. Have I been anywhere cool on my bike? Which one? So this is where I was the other day replying to YouTube messages. I just kind of sat on my bike. It was really nice. I took a picture of my old Honda. So that's me chilling out there. And then I took the other motorcycle down to the park. That's actually what I want to go do next, is go get on the motorcycle and go for a ride. Because it's nice out, and I want to go enjoy nice days. This is, we live, I think I've talked about this before, in Michigan here. I'm right next to the Detroit River, essentially. You can look up my company's address and see where we're at. So you can, do some nice winding down the river type of drives, and they're fun on the motorcycle. So I haven't really gone anywhere particularly fun, per se, because I've been doing this. For those of you that are following this saga, it's almost over. This is part of my backyard now in the back of my house, finally getting done. There, I'll give you another idea. So yeah, it's the back of my house, and leveling all the dirt and all the mess that was back there to try and get that sorted out. So yeah, that mess is coming to a close. That goes back years ago for the disaster that was my backyard. I think that's it. I don't think I have anything cool to show you guys. I already showed you the few pictures I had from another job on there. Yeah, I'm gonna do a video on the pfSense updates. So yeah, my house had a DNS sinkhole. Yeah, it's been a multi-year. It's been a multi-year project to fix my backyard. It takes that long because they had to dig such a big hole in there. I wonder if I can find the hole they dug in there. For those of you that don't know what the hole looked like before, let me find it. When was that hole? Here we go. that was my backyard. So these are some of my backyard photos from before, if you want an idea of just how big that was. And it's hard because this is a top-down photo, but think about how long those ladders are. It took 2 ladders to get out of the hole in my backyard. So give you an idea of how big my backyard is and area of my house, which, by the way, my backyard goes further this way too. So there's a lot to it. And this ladder, I don't think that's OSHA. That ladder had to hold up the power lines so the digging equipment could get around my house and get out here too. So it was it was a big mess. Yes, that was the disaster. That was that. So 404, grass not found, no doubt. Yeah, it's about 20 foot down for the hole. So those are like 2 8-foot ladders to get a hole. So sewer broke, sewer line collapsed. So they had to put a new sewer line from the back of my house all the way down to where it connects to the city. And the city sewers are 18 feet deep. So one hell of a hole had to be dug to get to it. It was a mess. I could have built a bunker. Yeah, there's all kinds of things we thought about doing. So, no, we don't. I don't remember what I use. I think we're just using air coolers on them, no water coolers on it. So, for the Ryzen or the house. Someone says, "What's your opinion on Cisco Meraki for solution for small business?" It ain't cheap. It works. I've not really. Well, we have some clients using it. We're not a Meraki reseller, so they bought it through someone else. We do their IT work. But I don't know where they bought their Meraki from. I forgot. They're paying them for the Meraki, and until the contract is up, they may switch because they think it's kind of pricey as well. So, but it works. It ain't broke. So, I don't really have a strong opinion on it. It seems to be functional. If you think that amount of money you pay for it is worth it, great, use it. If you want something different, there's other options out there. So it's not that I think it's bad, it's just not, ain't broke, don't fix it. Unless your budget's broke and you go, maybe this is not the budget for me. And we took a school system and got them off Meraki. They were spending $10,000 a year, and they decided that seemed like a lot in license fees. So that's kind of where it comes down to, what's those license fees like, and are those license fees worth it to you? I find the UniFi system to work quite well that we replaced it with, and they don't have $10,000 a year in recurring licensing fees, which make them happy because, as they said, that $10,000 fee doesn't go towards the students. We can put that money to better use, and $10,000 goes a long way for students. So, that. Yeah, you can get Meraki on TechSoup, and it's expensive. So, Meraki pays itself over and over again. Yes, it does. So thank you for all of you that bashed the like button. Stay tuned for more channel updates. I do want to get back to work so I can get some more projects done and all those other fun things. Hopefully, more school pizza. Yeah, school pizza is better, way better than Meraki. I'm gonna, if I were a kid, I would choose school pizza over Meraki. I'm throwing it out there. Free pizza or Meraki? What do you want, kid? So, thank you all for joining me, and I will be cranking out more videos. Sorry if I'm a little bit distracted today. It was kind of a busy day, but I at least got ahead of time, got this scheduled out. I got to put up some show notes and get together with Xavier for an exact time for how they got hacked. We'll get that done tomorrow. So much appreciated for all of you that showed up for the live stream. It is always welcome. Sorry if this wasn't as in-depth. Last time I think I got a lot more technical. Today I just kind of did a lot of overview and got distracted a lot. So sorry about that. See you next time, and stay tuned for more videos. I have definitely some projects coming out I'm working on, including the other ones like this. A few people asked me about reviewing the Arubas. We're playing with the Arubas. That's I got to get it out, unboxed, and working on that too. Thanks.